page turners, Jeannie here, and welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be about the books I plan to read in April. And while she's waiting to know what is going to happen to her, she somehow stumbles into this world full. So hello my friends, Jeannie here again. As stated before, this video is going to be about my April TBR video. So these are all the books I want to read in April, and hopefully I can get to them. Because last month I kind of sort of got to all the books I wanted to read in March, but there was a little bit of detours along the way. Stay tuned because that video should be coming out sometime this week. But just a little spoiler, there was a certain book that I may or may not have DNF. I guess you'll have to tune into that video when I post it to find out which one it was. On to my April TBR video. So for my April TBR, if you don't know what TBR means, that means to be read. I actually planned out a little bit of, my books for this month. I mean, I've kind of been doing that ever since January, but as a mood reader, we all know that sometimes can change. However, what I will say is that I'm pretty proud of the fact that I am planning my books in advance. And it's been working out because I already kind of know what I'm going to read the following month. So I actually like planning my, TBR. But what I also like to do and have found that it works pretty well, especially as a mood reader, is that I'll add a few extra books onto my TBR. It just makes it a little easier as opposed to just sticking to like this set TBR, which I am not used to. So usually what I do is I will put together all like my buddy reads, my read-alongs for my group. All the other books that I add along the way, those are more books that either is part of like my a reading challenge that I'm in, or they can be books that I really, really want to get to, or books that as a mood reader, you might feel like, ooh, I'm in the mood to read this book. So let me include that in there, right? Without further ado, if you want to know my April TBR, well, then stick around and let's go into the video. First book on my April TBR is Falling In by Frances O'Rourke Dowell. I hope I pronounced that right, but if I didn't, I apologize in advance. So this book is actually a middle grade fantasy, and I'm pretty excited about trying out a middle grade this month because I wanted to try a middle grade last month, but I didn't. I mean, I do have some because my daughter has some middle grade book, but I don't know what it was I really didn't get to. And besides, I already had a rather ambitious TBR last month, especially with one book that was like super thick. Yeah, she was thick. Okay, I'm dabbling a little. I wanna test the middle grade waters, right? So I decided to start off with Falling In. You hear that? Bzzz. Most people don't hear that sound, but Isabel Bean, she hears that sound. And the thing is that most people can't hear that sound. She believes that sound is kind of like you're almost at the edge of the universe, like some other kind of world. The thing is that she is actually not wrong about that. She's not too far from the truth. Then she starts to notice that strange things start happening, and she starts listening a little more to this buzz until one day she ends up listening to it a little too much and gets in trouble by her teacher and is sent to the principal's office. She tumbles into an adventure into another world that has those Hansel and Gretel vibes, but also fairy tale vibes as well. So Isabel just so happens to be an unusual dresser. So when she goes into this fairy tale world, she's wearing her high pointed red boots. in the fairy tale world, they kind of see this as a threat in a sense. They think that Isabel is a witch, and not just any plain old witch, but the witch. When you emphasize on the you know is serious. This sounds like such a fun adventure that I cannot wait to dive into. So that was middle grade fantasy, and now we're gonna go on to YA fantasy. So one of the YA fantasy books on my April TBR is Furyborn by Claire Legrand. In this story, we are following two different characters, one from the past and one from the present. So from the past, we get to follow Queen Raelle, who just so happens to have the ability to perform all 7 kinds of elemental magic, which is a magic that's spoken about in the prophecy that 2 queens will rise. So in order for Raelle to prove that she is the Sun Queen, she has to go through these 7 trials to test her magic. Now the thing is, if she fails, she will have to face execution. That is, if the trials don't consume her first. So fast forward to 1,000 years later, and we get to learn about Eliana, who thinks that the stories of Queen Raelle is nothing more than just fairy tale. And she is also a bounty hunter. But when the Undying Empire conquers her kingdom, she decides to choose violence. Eliana was like, you coming over here to conquer my area, my kingdom, the place where I sleep? No. I'm gonna go with violence because I want to keep my family safe. Can you blame her? I will do the same thing. Like, we fighting. Square up because we are fighting. Okay. Let me pull off my earrings right quick. So she teams up with this rebel captain, and they go on this dangerous mission, and they discover that there's actually more horrible evil in the heart of the kingdom than she ever thought possible. So as Raelle and Eliana fight in these 2 different wars that span a millennium, their stories intersect into the shocking connection, which ultimately will determine not only their fates, but the fate of the world. So I already started Furyborn because it is the April read-along in my Discord group. And this one, guys, it already has me hooked, and I'm only 4 chapters in. So I am excited to keep on diving into this world of, the past and the future and seeing what else happens, because this thing, it was crazy, like from the first few pages. And crazy in a fantasy world, yes, that is my vibe. The next fantasy book I want to read in April is The Wicked King by Holly Black. And the reason I'm laughing is because this was actually in my March TBR. I should have read this in March. But here's the thing, it's not my fault. I'm blaming my bestie on this one. The story with that is that in February, we started Cruel Prince and we started the series. So in March, we were supposed to read The Wicked King because we're buddy reading it together. Now, here's the thing. I actually bought this book for her in February as a Valentine's Day present. And you know what? Your girl still has not picked it up. I'm sorry, boo. I love you, but it is the truth. So that kind of held me back with being able to read this in March. I was, being nice and waiting for my bestie so we could read it together. The thing is that I told her, I am not waiting for you this month, okay? I am starting this and I am finishing it. I am sorry, but that's just the way it is. So hopefully she does pick up her book this month, right? So we could read it together and I don't have to move on and read it by myself. But enough of that story. Now let's get into this story, right? So I can't really tell you too much about The Wicked King because it's the second book in the series. And I don't really want to get too into the first book, but I will tell you a little bit about the first book. So, a little bit about The Cruel Prince, which is the first book in the Folk of Air series. In this one, we are following Jude, whose family was actually murdered right in front of her and her sisters. Now, the thing is, the assassin decides to take them back to his world, which, what? How? Excuse me? Yes, that happened. So his world is actually the world of Fae, which is one of my favorite worlds, which is why my Discord group is a Fae world. But you will have to join to see. Anyways, I digress. Let's talk about this Fae world. So in this world, Jude is actually bullied and mocked and treated so badly just because she's a human, right? She's a mortal. And fairies don't tend to be so nice. But Jude ends up realizing that in order for her to survive in this world and get the power that she really wants and that recognition, Jude is like, no, I have to become just like them. I have to be as cunning, as smart, and as wicked as the Fae. Now, here's the thing. It's not easy to be recognized and be a Fae when you're mortal, right? And they continue to remind her of that. The thing is that she starts to discover there's a lot of secrets and betrayals going on behind the scenes, right? Like there's so much going on. Now here's the other problem. So there's this Fae that she has to take the utmost care. Like she has to really be careful with him. And that's Prince Carden. And this left off a little crazy. There's a lot of stuff. Again, there was a lot of secrets and betrayals that were discovered and that happened. So that's why I had to move on to book 2. This one is going to be read in April. So that means in my April wrap-up video next month, you will see that I will finish this one and move on to the next one. So the next book on this TBR is The Assassin's Blade by Sarah J. Maas. I am actually reading the whole series this year. So far, I already read The Throne of Glass, which is the first book, Crown of Midnight, which is the second book, and Heir of Fire, which is the third book. And now I'm going to be reading this one, even though this is, considered the prequel to The Throne of Glass, the start of the series. But me and my friend who I'm buddy reading this with, we decided to go on the journey of by publication date. I think that's how it is. We read the first 3 books and then now we're reading this one. Because, a lot of people say that that's the better route to take as opposed to reading this one first and then starting the rest of the series. And I think I can see why. So it follows Selena Sardothian, who is the kingdom's most feared assassin. So Selena works for the powerful and ruthless Assassins Guild. And the only person she can really trust within that guild is her friend Sam. So her scheming master, Arabin Hamel, sends her on these missions to do all his deeds and everything that he wishes. As she continues on these missions, she starts to realize that she's starting to feel for Sam. So Selena ends up defying Arabin's orders one day, and of course, you telling your master, who's like this master assassin at that, no, right? What do you think is going to happen? There's going to be a lot of danger and your life is at stake. But the thing is, her life is not the only one at stake. Sam's life is in danger too. So now Selena is dealing with a bit of a conundrum, right? Will she risk it all to escape Arabin? But the thing is, if she fails, she ends up risking not only her freedom, but her life as well, and possibly the life of others that she may love. I am super excited about reading this and continuing on in this series because, oh my goodness, Heir of Fire? Whew. You know what? I'm not gonna spill the tea now. You have to watch my March wrap-up to find out how I feel about that book. So the next book that I just recently added on my April TBR is A Court of Thorns and Roses, also by Sarah J. Maas. So guys, I originally was not going to reread this until I finished the Throne of Glass series. However, though your girl does have some patience, right? But when it comes to books, I don't got no patience. I don't got no patience at all. I mean, no patience, because as you can see, all these books that I buy, right? Yeah, no patience at all. That just goes out the window. It goes all the way out the window. The last book that just came out, I forgot what that one is called, A Court of something. But I will put the book right here. So this one, because I don't remember what it's called, and it's just crazy that I don't remember because this is talked about all over the place, which is why I am like, you know what? I am going to read this because I want to finish the rest of the series because I did get to read up to... Yes, I had to look on my shelves. I don't know why I'm not remembering the titles to these books. I did get to read halfway through A Court of Rings and... Rings? What? What is wrong with me with these titles? Let's do this again. So I did get to read halfway through A Court of Wings and Ruin. Yes, Jeannie, you got that right. Ding, ding, ding. Woohoo! But I never got to finish the rest of the series. So I figured, you know what? Everybody's hype about the Nesta story. I want to know what's up with that. I want to be down. I want to finally finish this series. And my biggest goal for this year was to finish a lot of the old series that's been out that I started and didn't get to finish. So I decided, you know what? Screw it. We are doing this. We are going into this world and we're gonna finish it because I love it so much. And there you go. That's why I decided to add it to my April TBR. And in my Discord group, I am going to be doing a read along of this. But let me tell you a little bit about A Court of Thorns and Roses in case you don't know what this book is about. So in this story, we are following Feyre, who happens to be a huntress, and she kills a wolf in the woods one night. Then a beast-like creature comes knocking on her door asking for retribution. So then Feyre is taken to this magical land that she only hears from in stories and in these legends that are told in the human world. Then Feyre discovers that the creature that took her is Tamlin, who has a reputation of being this lethal immortal fairy who once ruled our world, or the human world. So as Feyre is living in this magical world with Tamlin, her hostility towards him starts to subside while her feelings start to arise. So now the feelings that start to arise in Feyre makes her kind of like push aside all the feelings and the stories that she's been told about the beautiful but yet dangerous world of Fae. There's something evil and wicked starting to grow in the fairyland, and Feyre must find a way to stop it or doom Tamlin and his world forever. Though I already read this, I am sure that I forgot some things that happened in this world. So I'm excited to reread it and dive back into this world because I love Sarah J. Maas. Sorry, I just had to add that in. So now I'm going to talk about the YA contemporary books I plan to read this month. So the first YA contemporary book that I plan on reading this month is Where the Rhythm Takes You by Sarah Das. And I'm sorry for the glare. It's like a nice, beautiful, sunny day today. That is the cover and it's so beautiful. So this was actually an arc that was sent to me by HarperCollins, and this book will be released on May 11th. So in this story, we are following Raina, whose mother passed away 2 years ago. And it's also been 2 years since her childhood best friend Aiden left Tobago to pursue his music dreams. Aiden also happens to be the first person she kissed, her first love, you know, like the first with everything. So we know there's there's that kind of history going on there. So not only did Aiden leave, but all of Raina's friends is leaving as well. They're going overboard to pursue, whatever they plan for their future and to pursue their dreams as well. And even Raina's dad is moving on with his life and planning to leave too. Now, with her dad leaving, Raina must stay behind to take care of the family's seaside resort and keep it afloat. But then Aiden comes back into her life as a VIP guest in her resort. Just a little spoiler, especially if you're subscribed to my book box, Totally Book Crate. This is actually a potential book that might be the YA contemporary pick for me. So I guess we shall see if it makes it. But I am super excited to get into this book because it just sounds like so much fun and a nice, little cute contemporary that I'm pretty into when it comes to like that little romance aspect, of a past, lover or like a past best friend that you had this like chemistry with when you were younger, and then as you're older and you think you moved on and they just pop back up into your life and it just becomes something more with feelings. And it just sounds similar to my story. But we're not getting into that, okay? Jeannie is not spilling that tea. At least not yet. Maybe one day. Maybe I could write my own story. That doesn't sound like a bad idea, actually. The next contemporary I will be reading in April is They Both Die at the End by Adam Silvera. I also have a bookmark in there because I already started reading this one. This one is actually another one that we're reading in my Discord group for April as well. So not only do I have a fantasy book pick, but there's also a contemporary book pick. So you could choose which one you want to read, right? Or maybe if you're like me and you got these goals you want to accomplish, maybe you want to read both. So in this story, we are following Mateo Torres and Rufus Emeterio. Yes, I did that. I put that Spanish tongue rolling in there, right? That whole Spanish accent really came out with that one. They both get a phone call from DeathCast with very bad news. They're going to die today. And that really sucks, right? Like, could you imagine getting a phone call like, today's your last day, okay? You're going to die today. So yeah, make the most of it. Oh my God, that's so horrible. So they both decide they want to make a friend, but for, two different reasons. And there's actually an app called The Last Friend where they can, they could pursue that. Mateo and Rufus, who are two complete strangers, meet up for the last adventure, which is to live a lifetime in one day. I am like only one chapter into this book, and guys, I could already tell that this book is gonna be one of those books that just hit you in them feels. Because just from the first few pages, I was already feeling so upset and thinking a lot about these things myself. And this one, I feel like it's going to break me, guys. I feel like it's going to tear me to pieces, but I guess I shall see, right? And you will hear about if it did next month. So the next book I want to finish that is actually a rollover from last month, since I read it late in the month during a readathon that me and my mods were hosting in my Discord group, is The Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller. So this one is a historical fiction, which is Greek mythology based. And of course, you could figure there might be some romance in here too, right? So in this story, we are following Patroclus, who is like this awkward young prince who was exiled from his homeland because of a shocking act of violence that he did. He then meets Achilles, who is the best of all the Greeks, right? He's also the son of a cruel sea goddess, Thetis? Thetis? I don't know how to pronounce her name, okay? So we're just leaving her as this cruel sea goddess. And the legendary king Peleus. So Achilles is strong and swift and most of all beautiful to everyone who meets him. So the same goes for Patroclus, and the two boys end up forming this inseparable bond. So eventually the two boys train with this centaur, Chiron, who trains them in the arts of war and medicine. So Helen of Sparta is kidnapped and all the heroes of Greece are called upon to lay siege to Troy in her name. So Achilles, who was promised this glorious destiny, decides to join the cause, and Patroclus follows. But the thing is, little do they know, the cruel fates will test them both, demanding a terrible sacrifice. I am so excited about reading this one because I've heard so many great things about it and it's been recommended to me. And I also heard that it might break my heart. So, typical Genie, let's dive in and read it, right? The next book I plan to read in April is Act Your Age, Evie Brown by Talia Hibbert. And this one is the third book in the Brown Sisters series. And I am so excited to finish off this series and learn about Eve Brown because I absolutely love the other two books in the series, which is Get a Life, Chloe Brown, and Take a Hint, Danny Brown. So this one is my romance book pick for the month of April. In this story, we are following Eve Brown, who is a certified hot mess. So as much as she tries to do the right thing, everything always tends to go horribly wrong for her, and eventually that leads to her feeling discouraged and just giving up. So when her personal brand ruins this very expensive wedding, her parents are like done. They are done with her. So Eve takes it upon herself to want to prove herself, right? She's like, you know what? I need to grow up. I'm gonna prove to my parents that I got this. But she really doesn't know how to do that. Then we also follow Jacob Wayne, who is a control freak and this perfectionist and a owner of a company called Bed and Breakfast. So his mission is to dominate the hospitality industry, but he expects nothing less than perfect because, like I said, he is a perfectionist. Then one day, this purple-haired woman comes in for an interview for a chef position, and Jacob was like, hell no. He was like, no, no, no. Eve ends up hitting him with her car, supposedly by accident. And of course, he doesn't believe that. So after the accident, it causes this downfall to happen within his business, and he's understaffed and there's so many problems because, of course, he's not there to handle the situation, to take charge in his business as, the control freak that he is. Eve, feeling bad, she tries to help him. And the thing is that she's not only infiltrating his work, she's also infiltrating his kitchen and his bedroom. Jacob hates it. Eve is like his nemesis, right? Like she's the total opposite from him. He's like this put together control freak, perfectionist. He has all his goals, put in place, while Eve is just all over the place, doesn't know what she wants, doesn't know how to go about things. And you could see where I'm going there, right? Like they're both the total opposite. Kind of like that opposites attract, right? That opposites attract type trope, maybe. But enemies to lovers, yes, definitely. Now, the thing is that the longer they spend time with each other, the animosity starts to subside and nicer feelings start to come into play. Maybe even romantic feelings. I am super excited about finishing off this series. and getting to know Eve Brown and her story. And I can't wait to finish it. This one I didn't start. This is actually the author letter, because I featured this one in my romance book box last month, and we were able to get an author letter. Let me move up. An author letter from Talia Hibbert. So that was pretty cool. And I'm super excited to, finish this series off and see what happens. So maybe, possibly, the last book in my April TBR is Flowers in the Attic by V.C. Andrews. So guys, here's the thing. I wasn't planning on reading this one this month neither. Now, there's this person in my Discord group that recently joined. Her name is Amy. Hey, Amy. When I checked out her Instagram and followed her, I saw that she had a B.C. Andrews book pictured in there. So, I mean, look at my smile, right? That says it all. I got super excited. I was like, yes, yes, yes. Another V.C. Andrews fan, right? And the crazy thing is that she also, just like me, read and loved V.C. Andrews when she was in high school. So, I was automatically like hype. I was like, yes. And then it ended up that we started talking a little, because I was like, girl, you like V.C. Andrews too? I like V.C. Andrews too. And we just set up to do a buddy read together of Flowers in the Attic. So in this story, we are following Kathy, Chris, and her twin brother and sister, whose mom just so happens to send them away because she's trying to inherit a fortune. Now, the thing is, their mom, she loves them. She's doing this because she wants them to have a good future, right? If she inherits this fortune. Now, the catch to their mom being able to inherit this fortune is that she has to keep her kids a secret from her dying father. So Kathy's grandmother and mom decide to lock them away in this unused attic for a little while, right? Like, you know what? It's just for a little while. However, a little while turns into days, then turns into months, and then turns into years. So now Kathy and her siblings are waiting in this cramped, helpless world, stirred by adult desires and dreams and, quite honestly, selfishness, right? Like, that's how I view it. So the grandmother believes that the devil is at work, and she believes that the devil sends children even to do his bidding. And you could only imagine what comes from that, right? So the grandmother decides, well, since the devil uses children, they have to be destroyed one by one. And that's where this story comes in, and that's the whole unfortunate premise of this story. So this one is a family saga, gothic horror, and I am very excited to see how I feel about V.C. Andrews now that I'm, an adult and I'm not that high school girl that loved this stuff. And I'm also excited about reading it with another V.C. Andrews lover like me. You will hear my thoughts about this as well towards the end of the month, maybe beginning of the month. Maybe I might do a whole vlog. Who knows, right? Let's see. Let me know if you would like to hear about my thoughts on V.C. Andrews, Flowers in the Attic. Maybe I could try a vlog. I don't know. Let's see. But again, I am super excited about reading this one, especially being able to read it with a friend. So guys, that concludes this video of my April TBR. I am hoping that I am able to get to all these books, but if I don't, oh well. There's still another month. There's still more time, right? Because that's just the way it is for us bookworms. So if you like this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and make sure you subscribe to my channel. show your girl some love and support by commenting down below. Let me know what you plan on reading this month. And are any of these books on your TBR? If not, do you think you would add any? Like, let me know all of this. Your girl loves to read your comments and thoughts below. So make sure to leave that below. So if you made it to the end of the video, leave a flower emoji down below because it's already spring, right? We are in April. The weather is getting warmer. The flowers are blooming. The birds are chirping. And it's just a beautiful day to be alive, right? But enough of that. Let's end this video before it gets too long and your girl gotta edit more. That is all. I wish you well. Goodbye. I don't know what it is with these floors, but they sounding mighty crazy right now and spooky.